the secret that lasted years. For millions of fans across Asia and beyond, the names Wang Yibo and Zhan bring back memories of The Untamed, a fantasy drama that redefined chemistry on screen. But while the world focused on the characters they played, a quieter, far more intimate story was unfolding off-screen. It's the kind of love that never sought attention, never asked for permission, and yet it bloomed in silence, intensely, privately, and out of the public's reach until now. The year was 2018. When casting for The Untamed was announced, few could have predicted what would happen between the two leads. On paper, they were very different. Wang Yibo, known for his stoic charm, cool-headed persona, and unmatched dance skills. Zhan, the artistic soul with a warm smile, a voice that could break hearts, and an aura that felt like home. At first, they were simply colleagues, filming long hours under pressure, sharing scripts, taking breaks with the rest of the cast. But things shifted slowly, almost invisibly. A glance held a beat too long. A gentle nudge on set that made them both smile. A quiet dinner after wrap, away from the cameras. One of the assistant directors recalled, there was a moment, Zhan had messed up a scene, and everyone was tense. Yibo didn't say anything. He just walked over, gave him a bottle of water, and looked at him like no one else existed. You don't fake that kind of care. By the time The Untamed premiered, rumors were already beginning. Their interviews were filled with light teasing, subtle touches, and lingering smiles. Yet behind those moments was a deeper truth. They had begun seeing each other quietly. No grand confessions. No labels. Just two people building a world only they could understand. They would spend off days exploring small towns outside Beijing, riding motorcycles through quiet mountain roads, stopping at tea houses where no one recognized them. There, they were not idols. They were just Yibo and Zhan. One of their close stylists, who has since left the industry, revealed they weren't dramatic. They didn't even call it dating. It was more like an understanding. Like they already knew this was where their hearts belonged. In a small, sunlit apartment on the 18th floor of a quiet building in Hangzhou, their story unfolded in private. There were handwritten notes on the fridge. Don't skip breakfast today. I left you bowsy. Come back safe. I kept your favorite tea warm. There was a wall with photos that would never make it online. Polaroids of them baking terribly shaped mooncakes, blurry selfies after midnight, and one photo where Zhan had fallen asleep on Yibo's shoulder, his fingers still loosely curled around Yibo's wrist. And there was a promise, unspoken but deeply felt. When the world is too loud, I'll be your quiet. As their individual careers skyrocketed, so did the pressure. Endorsements, solo projects, award shows, each pulling them in different directions. The more famous they became, the more carefully they had to hide. They stopped appearing publicly together. Fans wondered why. Speculations flew. Some said they had a falling out. Some said it was the industry's doing. But those who knew better understood. They were protecting what mattered. People think silence is distance, Zhan once wrote in a private notebook, but for us, silence is shelter. In 2023, something nearly changed everything. During a private celebration for one of Yibo's film awards, a photographer accidentally captured a moment backstage. Zhan, standing quietly by the door, waiting. When Yibo saw him, his face softened in a way the public had never seen. He walked over, placed a hand gently on Zhan's lower back, and leaned in to whisper something. The photo wasn't published, but it circulated in private circles, and whispers grew louder again. Still, neither of them commented. Instead, they carried on as they always had, two stars in orbit, distant in public, but always drawn back to the same invisible center. What kept them going wasn't fame or fantasy. It was the little things. The way Yibo would send voice notes instead of texts because he said Zhan's laughter sounded best in reply. The way Zhan once delayed a major shoot just to spend 3 quiet days in the mountains with Yibo, no phones, no plans. The Sunday tradition of writing each other one line of truth, something they felt but never said aloud. One entry read, "If I could, I'd walk beside you through every lifetime. But I'll settle for this one, even if I can only hold your hand in the dark. In early 2025, Xiao posted a photo that seemed ordinary to most, just a sunset, soft and orange, over a quiet lake. But those who had been paying attention recognized the lake. It was the same one Yibo had once posted years before, with a single caption, "My peace." No names were mentioned, no hashtags, no announcement, and yet, that was the loudest truth they had ever shared. In an industry that thrives on spectacle, Wang Yibo and Xiao chose intimacy over noise, connection over publicity, and love over labels. They never needed the world to understand it. They only needed each other. And sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones whispered in private, held close, protected fiercely, and finally, gently revealed to those who chose to listen with their hearts. More than a whisper, Wang Yibo and Xiao, when the secret finds a light. The lake photo was never meant to be a signal. But when Xiao posted that image, the soft orange sunset resting over the quiet waters, fans knew. Not all of them, just the ones who had been watching closely. The ones who remembered that Yibo had once posted the same view, 3 years earlier, with only 2 words, "My peace." That was the beginning of the unraveling. It didn't happen all at once. There were no press conferences, no social media statements, no interviews addressing the rumors. But small things began to change, quiet, intentional, and impossible to ignore for those who knew where to look. A stylist who had worked with Yibo for years noticed it first. "He used to be very careful about his phone," she said. "But one day, he left it on the chair while we were prepping for an event. The wallpaper wasn't a car or a motorbike anymore. It was a photo, blurry and golden, of Xiao standing at the window in that Hangzhou apartment." At an awards show, Xiao was asked what he looked for in someone close to him. His answer was simple. "Someone who sees me before the world does. Someone who listens even when I don't say anything." And then he smiled, that soft, rare smile he only gave when something familiar crossed his mind. Or someone. A few months passed. A few more signs. And then something subtle, yet seismic occurred. Wang Yibo released a short documentary online, a personal project, something fans had long awaited. It followed his journey through dance, racing, and music. But in the last minute of the film, the screen faded to a quiet scene. A man, standing near a lake at dusk, looking out at the still water. Only the back of his head was visible. No words. No music. Just stillness. And then, as the screen turned black, 5 words appeared. The silence was always ours. Comments exploded. The lake. The timing. The wording. Fans debated, cried, celebrated. Some doubted. Some defended. But one thing was clear. For the first time, the love they had shared in secret was no longer hidden. It was being felt. Gently, intentionally. Almost like a whispered confession between verses. The industry, of course, noticed. Meetings were held. Brands had concerns. Managers raised eyebrows. But neither man backed away. Xiao posted a poem weeks later, handwritten, tucked into a photo of a coffee cup beside a window. The final line read, "You never needed to say it. You were always the answer." They were no longer hiding, but they still weren't performing. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't a rebellion. It was simply truth, unfolding slowly, like petals in spring. Those close to them